The storm had come suddenly, as it often did on this remote, barren world. Alex sat in his small metal-clad home, the wind rattling the walls and the cold gnawing through the thin insulation. Outside, the sky was a violent swirl of black and gray clouds, and the planet's 2 moons were barely visible through the rolling dust and snow. Life on this colony was harsh, and Alex had long grown used to surviving the unforgiving nights. Yet even he could feel the storm carrying an unusual intensity tonight, shaking the ground and bending the skeletal trees that dotted the landscape. He had just finished repairing the solar panels when a deafening crash echoed through the storm. Alex jumped, his heart hammering. A blinding light flared in the distance, followed by a sound that was neither thunder nor the howl of the wind. It was sharper, metallic, alien. Alex ran toward the source, slipping on the frozen soil, his boots barely holding against the icy ground. There, half buried in a crater, was a strange spacecraft. It was sleek, like nothing Alex had ever seen, with smooth curves and a metal that shimmered even under the storm's darkness. Before he could process it, movement caught his eye. Something or someone was staggering from the wreckage. A figure, unprotected, naked, and shivering violently, stumbled across the icy ground toward him. Alex froze for a moment, unsure whether to run or help. The figure's skin had a faint, unnatural glow, and her eyes, large and reflective, were wide with fear. She was human-shaped, but clearly not human. Her limbs were slightly longer, and the angles of her face seemed sculpted, too perfect to be natural. She fell forward and instinct kicked in. Alex reached her just in time, catching her as she collapsed against him. She was trembling violently, and Alex could feel the chill radiating off her body. "It's okay," he said, unsure if she could understand him. "I'll help you." Her eyes flickered up to meet his, and for a moment there was only silence and the storm. Then, with a soft, almost childlike whimper, she clung to him as if her life depended on it. Alex guided her inside, shutting the door against the wind. He stripped off his jacket and wrapped it around her, holding her close. Her skin was warmer than it had seemed outside, but still fragile and cold to the touch. He led her to the heater and found some blankets, piling them around her as she curled up like a small animal, shivering and silent. "Can you speak?" he asked cautiously. She shook her head, then pointed at herself and made a gesture that suggested she was cold. Alex nodded, understanding. She needed warmth. Human warmth. He went to his storage closet and found a thermal suit, the kind used for extreme exploration outside the settlement. Gently, he helped her into it. She gasped at the sensation of fabric against her skin, looking both confused and amazed. Her fingers brushed his as he adjusted the suit, and a spark of something, curiosity, wonder, recognition, flashed in her eyes. She had never experienced human comfort like this before. Alex went to the small kitchenette and boiled water for a drink. When he returned, she was watching him intently, tilting her head as if trying to understand what he was doing. He handed her the steaming cup, and after a hesitant pause, she mimicked him, sipping slowly. Her body relaxed slightly, but she still shivered occasionally, curling tighter under the blankets. Hours passed. The storm raged outside, but inside, the alien slowly began to calm. Alex watched her carefully, noticing every subtle reaction. The way her pupils contracted in the warm light, the way she flinched when he adjusted the blanket, the small, almost imperceptible hum she made when she was comfortable. Despite the language barrier, there was communication happening, silent, instinctive. When she finally spoke, it was a series of melodic sounds that Alex could not understand. Yet the tone was not threatening. He smiled, pointing to himself and saying, "Alex, your friend." She tilted her head, repeating something that sounded like her own name, and then smiled, a tentative, fragile expression of trust. Night deepened. Outside, the storm showed no sign of slowing. Inside, Alex built a small fire in the heater's hearth, and the alien watched, fascinated. She reached out a finger, touching the flames with caution, then recoiling, then touching again. Her movements were delicate, careful, almost reverent. She had never seen fire used like this. Controlled, warm, life-giving. Alex felt a strange admiration for her. She was fragile, yes, but there was intelligence behind her eyes and unspoken strength. Despite being out of her element, she adapted quickly, learning through observation. She picked up a spoon, imitating his movements, and began feeding herself. Her progress was small but remarkable. Humans thrived on struggle, and here was a being learning to survive in one night what her species had likely never experienced. Then came the sound of engines in the distance. Alex stiffened. He had noticed unusual readings on his sensors earlier, but had dismissed them as a storm anomaly. Now there was no mistaking it. Another ship, larger and more advanced, approaching fast. He glanced at the alien. Her eyes widened, fear flashing across her face. He realized she was aware of what this could mean. Her people had technology, weapons far beyond what he could imagine. They would not be gentle, he had no choice. He moved to barricade the door with whatever he could find. Furniture, crates, anything to slow them down. "Stay here," he said, though he wasn't sure if she could understand. She stayed, watching him, her head tilting slightly as if analyzing the situation. The engines grew louder. Shadows moved across the walls outside. Alex took a deep breath. Humans survived because they were clever, adaptable, and unyielding. He had no weapons, no army, just his wits and the storm. Using mirrors, lights, and reflective surfaces in his home, he created illusions, confusing sensors and making it appear that the building was empty. Every move was calculated, every risk measured. The alien watched, silent but fascinated. She mimicked some of his movements, experimenting with shadows and reflections, clearly learning quickly. Alex realized something incredible. Humans were not the only intelligent beings, but our ingenuity under pressure, our instinct to survive against impossible odds, was something extraordinary. Even her species, advanced as it was, did not seem to have the same instinctive creativity. Hours passed. The alien patrol, unable to penetrate Alex's defenses, finally gave up, retreating into the storm. Alex slumped against the wall, exhausted but relieved. The alien looked at him with what could only be described as awe. Her voice, or the series of sounds she made, was softer now, almost melodic. She stepped closer, touching his hand briefly, a silent gesture of gratitude and trust. Alex smiled, feeling a warmth beyond the fire. It was the warmth of connection, of understanding, of being recognized for who he was. Not just a survivor, but a human. He realized that in this moment the alien had learned something profound. Humans were more than flesh and bone. We were resourceful, compassionate, and fearless when it mattered most. The storm began to wane as night moved toward dawn. Outside, the world was still harsh, but inside there was a fragile peace. The alien had survived her first encounter with human warmth, and Alex had glimpsed the beginning of something extraordinary. She was not just a visitor or a survivor, she was a student, learning from the most unpredictable, remarkable species in the galaxy. As dawn broke, casting pale light through the frost-covered windows, the alien stood by the fire, her gaze thoughtful. Alex handed her another cup of hot water, and for the first time she smiled fully, a small but radiant expression of trust and admiration. In that smile, Alex saw the promise of what was to come, an unlikely friendship, a bridge between species, and the undeniable proof that humanity's strength was not only in survival, but in warmth, empathy, and the ability to inspire even the most advanced beings. And so, in that small battered room on a frozen world, a human and an alien began an alliance that would test both species, challenge assumptions, and reveal the extraordinary power of humanity. Alex did not yet know the full extent of the adventure ahead, but for now, he simply held the alien's hand and let the warmth of life, human life, fill the room. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving a fragile calm. Inside, a new chapter had begun. One written not with weapons or politics, but with the simple, profound truth that human warmth, both physical and emotional, could save, inspire, and transform. And in the cold darkness of the universe, that warmth was the rarest, most powerful force of all. The first light of dawn barely touched the horizon when Alex realized the storm's passing did not mean safety. He could still hear distant rumblings of engines far beyond the settlement. The alien who had stumbled into his home last night, the one he now knew as Lyra, stood beside the heater observing him silently. She had spent the night learning, watching, and absorbing every detail of human survival. But now she was restless. Alex poured 2 cups of hot water. He handed one to Lyra, who examined it with curiosity before taking a careful sip. Her eyes widened as warmth spread through her, not just physically, but seemingly emotionally. She looked at him with something that almost resembled wonder, as if she were seeing more than survival. She was seeing the essence of humanity itself. Alex, sensing her awe, tried to explain through gestures. He mimicked wrapping a blanket around himself, showing how humans take care of one another, and she copied him, learning quickly. Suddenly, the ground trembled faintly. Alex's heart skipped a beat. Through the frost-covered window, he glimpsed shadowy shapes moving over the ridge. The alien patrol had returned, this time more determined. Alex realized the chase was inevitable. He had no choice but to act, and fast. He whispered, mostly to himself, "Time to show what humans can really do." He moved swiftly around his small home, gathering supplies, ropes, metal scraps, mirrors, and reflective panels. Lyra watched closely, her eyes bright and alert. She imitated his actions, learning instinctively. Humans survived because they adapted, because they improvised, and because they thought faster than any machine. Alex had never considered himself a hero, but in this moment he was the embodiment of human ingenuity. The patrol arrived at the edge of the settlement. Large, sleek vehicles scanned the landscape with light beams that cut through the morning fog. Alex peered through a small observation panel and counted at least 4 patrols. Each one was equipped with sensors and weapons far beyond human technology. Yet he felt no fear. Not for himself, not for Lyra. Humans had a strange gift. Courage born from necessity, the ability to improvise in situations that seemed impossible. He set his plan into motion. Using mirrors, lights, and reflections, he created illusions in the snow, making it appear as if the settlement was empty. Lyra mimicked his movements, placing small reflective objects strategically, and together they became a human-alien duo, outwitting a force far superior in technology. The patrol scanned the area, engines humming, light sweeping across the landscape, but Alex's traps and misdirection kept them confused. Hours passed like minutes. Lyra grew more confident, understanding not just what Alex was doing, but why. She touched his arm lightly, mimicking gestures, experimenting with shadows and reflections, and Alex realized something incredible. She was learning human ingenuity, the very essence of survival. She might be from an advanced species, but even her intelligence could not replace instinct and adaptability. Alex knew they had to move before the patrol discovered their position. He packed a small bag with essentials, food rations, water, and a compact survival kit he had built for emergencies. He gestured for Lyra to follow, and they slipped quietly into the snowy terrain. Each step was calculated, every movement designed to avoid sensors. They moved like shadows, human and alien, together in a dance of survival. As they traversed the frozen hills, Lyra finally spoke in broken words using a small translator device Alex had given her the night before. "Humans survive anything?" she asked, her voice a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. Alex nodded, smiling. "We adapt," he said simply. "We endure. We survive because we can." She tilted her head, absorbing the meaning. She had seen technology, intellect, strategy, but she had never understood the core of human strength, resilience and courage in the face of impossible odds. Night fell again, and the temperature dropped sharply. Alex led Lyra to a small cave he had discovered months ago during scouting trips. Inside it was cold but shielded from the wind. He built a fire, careful to keep it low to avoid detection. Lyra watched, fascinated, as he taught her the human way of controlling fire, of using it for warmth, cooking, and light. Her hands hovered over the flames before she dared to touch them, learning through trial and error. They shared a simple meal of rations and water. Lyra's expressions were almost childlike but filled with intense curiosity. She asked questions through gestures, pointing to the fire, the walls of the cave, the stars above. Alex explained as best as he could with gestures, words, and demonstration. It was a silent exchange of knowledge, bridging species and experience. Suddenly, the patrol's searchlights cut across the horizon. Alex froze, then whispered to Lyra, "We need to move now." They packed up their few belongings and slipped deeper into the mountains. The patrol followed at a distance, but the terrain worked in Alex's favor. Narrow paths, jagged rocks, and sudden drops slowed the advanced vehicles. Alex led Lyra along hidden trails, improvising constantly, creating diversions and using the natural environment as a weapon against technology. Lyra began to understand humans in a way she never had before. She saw instinct, ingenuity, and bravery, qualities her species admired but never fully practiced under pressure. She began helping Alex, carrying supplies, scouting ahead, and even mimicking his tricks with shadows and noise to confuse the patrol. Together, they became more than human and alien. They became a unit, a living example of collaboration and adaptability. Days passed. The patrol grew frustrated, unable to locate them. Alex's understanding of terrain, combined with Lyra's rapid learning, allowed them to evade capture repeatedly. They made temporary shelters, shared knowledge, and began to understand each other without words. Lyra learned about human emotions: fear, hope, humor, and empathy. Alex learned that even beings from advanced civilizations could learn the strength of human ingenuity and compassion. During one quiet night, under a sky filled with stars, Lyra finally communicated fully through her translator. "Your species. Incredible," she said, her voice soft, filled with awe. "We never see courage like this. Ingenuity, warmth, survival, not just body-heart." Alex smiled, feeling a pride that went beyond mere survival. Humans were extraordinary, not because of strength or weapons, but because of heart, mind, and spirit. The next morning, they reached the edge of a frozen plateau, where Alex had prepared a final diversion. Using snow, mirrors, and carefully placed noisemakers, they created an illusion of movement and heat, drawing the patrol away from their actual path. The strategy worked perfectly. The patrol, deceived and exhausted, retreated once more, giving Alex and Lyra a chance to move to a safer location, a hidden valley where no one would find them. In the quiet of the valley, Lyra finally relaxed fully. She touched Alex's arm lightly, a gesture of trust and gratitude. She had learned more than survival. She had learned human warmth in every sense of the word. Alex realized that she was not only alive because of human ingenuity, but because of empathy, kindness, and courage, the traits that made humanity unique. Over time, they set up a small hidden camp. Alex taught Lyra more about human tools, fire, and survival techniques, while she shared knowledge about her own species' technology and intelligence. Yet it was clear that her fascination lay not in their machines or their science, but in the human spirit. She had traveled across space, survived a crash, and now she marveled at a species whose greatest weapon was not a laser or a starship, but heart, mind, and resilience. As the sun set over the snowy mountains, Lyra looked at Alex and smiled, a radiant expression of trust, admiration, and curiosity. "Humans, special," she said softly. "More than we thought." Alex nodded, feeling a rare sense of fulfillment. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through conquest, technology, or force, but through ingenuity, courage, and warmth. And so, in a hidden valley on a frozen world, a human and an alien began a new journey together. They would face challenges, evade threats, and explore the boundaries of survival and friendship. But one thing was certain: Lyra had seen the true power of humanity, and she would carry that knowledge to her people, forever changed by the resilience, warmth, and brilliance of a single human who had refused to yield. In the vast cold universe, Alex understood something profound. Survival was more than staying alive. It was about inspiring others, bridging worlds, and proving that humanity's edge was not in weapons or technology. It was in the spirit that could endure, adapt, and warm even the coldest heart. And Lyra, once stranded and helpless, now understood that some forces in the universe could not be measured in tech or strength. Some were immeasurable, rare, and uniquely human. She smiled at Alex once more, and for the first time, she felt something she had never felt before: the power of human warmth, in every sense, lighting a path even through the darkest, coldest places.